Shri Gurubhyo Namaha children. I am happy to welcome you all for our online teaching academy Ekalaiva. Class 12, subject BioBotany, Chapter 2, Classical Genetics. Today we are going to discuss about Mendel's experiments on pea plant. Mendel's theory of inheritance. Already you know the meaning of inheritance. Inheritance means transfer of character from one generation to other generation. Clear? So Mendel's theory of inheritance, known as particulate theory, established the existence of minute particles or heredity units or factors which are now called as genes. He performed artificial pollination as well as artificial pollination, that means cross pollination experiments with several true breed lines of pea plant. So he performed so many artificial pollination, that is cross pollination with several true breeding pea plants. Fusion of male and female gametes produced by the same individual, that is pollen and egg. Pollen is a male gamete and egg is a female gamete. Pollen and egg are derived from the same plant is known as self-fertilization. The self-pollination takes place in Mendel's peas. The experimenter means the scientist Mendel. The experimenter can remove the anther. The removal of anther is said to be emasculation. Emasculation means cutting off the anther, removal of anther. He removed the anther from the flower, from the plant before fertilization and transferred the pollen from another variety of pea to the stigma of the flower where the anther is removed. This results in cross pollination. This is called artificial pollination, cross pollination, which leads to the creation of hybrid varieties with different traits. Hybrid varieties with different traits. Traits means characters. Mendel's work on the study of the pattern of inheritance and the principles or laws formulated now constitute the Mendelian genetics. The first model organism in genetics, that is garden peas, Pisum sativum. He observed 7 characters. So Mendel studied 7 characters. So the 7 characters, the first one is stem length, second one is pod shape, third one is seed shape, fourth one seed color, fifth one flower position, sixth one flower color, and seventh one pod color. So these are the 7 characters which are observed by Mendel, which are studied by Mendel. So while talking about the character stem length, he studied tall and the second one is the recessive one is dwarf. So the dominant character is tall and the recessive character is dwarf. In pod shape, the dominant is inflated, the recessive is constricted. In seed shape, it is round, another one is wrinkled. Flower position, if it is dominant means it is in axial position, recessive means it is in terminal position. Flower color, dominant character, dominant trait, it is purple. Recessive means it is white. Pod color, dominant color means green, recessive color means yellow. Recessive trait means yellow color. 7 characters of Pisum sativum with genes. So plant height, dominant means tall, recessive means round. Okay, so dominant means tall, recessive means dwarf. So this particular LE gene is responsible for the plant height. Then R gene is responsible for seed shape. Dominant means round, recessive means wrinkled. Then cotyledon color. Cotyledon means seed color. Dominant means yellow, recessive means green. So I gene is responsible for both dominant as well as the recessive. So I gene is responsible for cotyledon color. A gene is responsible for flower color. GP is responsible for pod color, and V is responsible for pod form, and then FA is responsible for flower position. Dominant means it is axial, recessive means it is terminal. Clear? Terminology related to Mendelism. So Mendel noticed two different expressions. The one is tall, another one is dwarf. So he observed two different traits, two different characters. One is tall, another one is dwarf. Traits, that means characters, are expressed in different ways due to the fact that a gene can exist in alternate form. So alternate form of a gene is said to be allele. So characters are expressed in different ways due to the fact that a gene can exist in alternative form of the same trait is called alleles. If an individual has two identical alleles, identical means same allele of a gene, it is called homozygous. See, tall means capital T, capital T. Both alleles are same, both alleles are identical. If an individual has two identical allele of a gene, so this is the gene and this T is called allele, this T is called another allele. So both these alleles are same, identical means then it is said to be homozygous. If an individual with two different allele, see here, this is one form tall, another one is dominant, this is a recessive, small. So they have a different alleles. This type of arrangement is said to be heterozygous. See here, capital T and small t. Okay. So Mendel's non-true breeding plants are heterozygous. Heterozygous means different type of allele. So homozygous means two alleles are same, identical alleles. The individual has identical alleles. Okay. So Mendel non-true breeding plants are heterozygous, called as hybrids. So this is a hybrid. One is from dominant gene, another one is from a recessive, one is from dominant character, another one is from recessive trait. So both they fuse together to form a hybrid variety, hybrid, okay, hybrid zygote. It is heterozygous. When the gene has two allele, the dominant allele is symbolized as when the gene has two allele. See here, when the gene has two allele, this is the gene, it has two allele, one is capital T, another one is small t. So capital, the dominant is symbolized as capital, this is dominant. And the recessive one is symbolized with small letter. Okay. So both alleles are recessive. If the both are recessive means it is mentioned as small letter. Okay. When the both alleles are recessive, the individual is called homozygous recessive. This is a homozygous recessive dwarf pea plant. Okay. If the individual with two dominant alleles, this is two dominant alleles, and it is said to be homozygous. Homo means same, homozygous dominant TT, that is tall pea plants. One dominant allele and one recessive allele, one dominant and one recessive, it is said to be heterozygous. So one dominant allele and one recessive allele denotes non-true breeding tall pea plants, that is heterozygous tall. This is heterozygous tall, this is recessive draft, this is tall plant, this is a hybrid, not non-true breeding, it is a heterozygous tall. Okay. Mendelian inheritance, Mendel's law of heredity. Mendel proposed two rules based on his observation on monohybrid cross. So he observed monohybrid cross and he proposed two laws. Today these rules are called laws of inheritance. The first law is the law of dominance. So Mendel's proposed two laws based on the observation of monohybrid cross. So this law, today this law is said to be laws of inheritance. The first law is the law of dominance and the second law is law of segregation. Segregation is nothing but separation. Okay, these both laws, two laws are proposed only after the observation of monohybrid cross. Okay, today these laws are said to be laws of inheritance, Mendel's laws of inheritance. Okay, yes, these scientific laws plays an important role in the history of evolution. The first law, law of dominance. The name itself you can easily understand. The law of dominance. So the dominant character is exist in the F1 generation as well as in the F2 generation. Okay, so the characters are controlled by discrete unit. Okay, and this called factors are nothing but genes. So the characters, dominant characters as well as the recessive characters, so the characters are controlled, these two characters are controlled by genes. Okay, which occurs in pairs. I already said that the alleles occurs in pairs, capital T or small t. If one plant is tall, means it is homozygous, T, capital T. So another one is dwarf plant, it is also homozygous, it is recessive, it means small t. Okay, so in a dissimilar pair of factors, one member of the pair is dominant. Here what will happen in the first generation, this like this it occurs. So this is a parent generation, this is the F1 generation. From the parent, one T, capital T fused with the small t, and again one capital T fused with the small t. There are possibilities of capital T and capital T, small t. So this is the F1 generation. Now the plants, all the plants are tall, but it is heterozygous tall. Okay, so in the dissimilar pair of factors, one members of the pair is dominant and other one is recessive. This law gives an explanation to the monohybrid cross. The expression of only one of the parent character in F1 generation. So this is tall. This character is expressed in the F1 generation. All the plants are tall only. Okay, so only one character is expressed in the F1 generation, that is tall. The expression of both characters are expressed in F2 generation. It also explains the proportion of 3:1 obtained at the F2 generation. Clear? So law of dominance means only one dominant character is expressed in F1 generation. So tall is dominant, it only expressed in F1 generation. Clear? The second law is law of segregation. It is also called as law of purity of gametes. Alleles do not show any blending. Okay, both characters are seen as such in F2 generation. In F2 generation, both character means tall and dwarf. These two characters are expressed in F2 generation. Although one of the characters is not seen in the F1 generation. So one character is not seen in the F1 generation, but both characters are seen in the F2 generation. For example, see, This is male plant, homozygous tall. This is dwarf, homozygous recessive. This is parent generation, gametes. This is F1 generation. The F1 generation is tall. Okay. So during the formation of gametes, the factors or allele of a pair separate and segregate. So this gives capital T and small t. This also change into capital T and small t. The gametes are always separate and segregate. They will not fuse. See here, during the formation of gametes, the factors or alleles of a pair separate and segregate to form each other from each other, such that each gamete receives only one of the two factors. So it is the allele, the separate that of allele of a pair is separate and segregate from each other, such that each gamete receives only one of the two factors. A homozygous parent, this is homozygous parent, produce similar gametes, and heterozygous parent produce two different kinds of gametes. So this is heterozygous. On capital T and small t, it is heterozygous. It produces two different types of gametes. One is capital letter, another one is small. So one is tall, another one is dwarf. So two different kinds of gametes, each having one allele with equal proportion. Gametes are never hybrid. So see here, the gametes are separate. Gametes are separate, they are never hybrid. They separate and segregate. Okay. So what the law of segregation tells? Gametes are separate, they are not hybrid. So gametes are never hybrid. Okay. Thank you children. We will see in the next class.